All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for hopping on. We're going to go ahead and get started. So the Congresswoman is going to be talking about today an individual who not only threatened to kill her, but also threatened a bomb threat to her congressional office. So she's going to be talking about details regarding that, and then we'll take questions at the end. But we also have a press release going out on this right after the press conference. So a lot of the details will be in that as well. So I'll let her take it away and then we'll do questions.
All right, thank you, Carly, our press secretary here in the office. First of all, I want to thank you all for being on this morning. As you all know, I've spoken out extensively about political rhetoric, violence in this country, and these things just keep happening again and again and again. Recently, there was an individual who was arrested for threatening to blow me up and my employees. This individual, this case is in Indiana. I believe the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, we reported this threat or series of threats that the office received. The threat was that if I went outside, there would be a bomb to blow me up and my employees. And so I'm very grateful to the FBI for taking this threat seriously. That isn't always the case. As some of you know, I have played some of the videos of threats, audio of threats, and in some states, prosecutors aren't taking those threats seriously. I am very grateful so far for the federal authorities in Pennsylvania, where there's a guy behind bars right now who threatened to kill the president and me. In South Carolina, Samuel Kane is still behind bars for his threat to kill me. In Indiana, now this individual, their threat to kill me as well. Not every state's the same, but I am deeply grateful for the federal authorities who have been involved, and also particularly for the prosecutors, in this case, the U.S. Attorney's Office, who will be prosecuting this case for the threat of killing a elected official is against the federal law. It's under Title 18, U.S. Code of Laws 115, which is up to 10 years in prison and is punishable, by federal law under Title 18. The other thing that I want to say about this as well is that I receive, as many of you know, thousands of death threats a year. I just reported another one this morning to my office. I think our official count is over 1,300 a year. And so it's something that I take seriously. What is really deeply concerning about this particular one is that it's one thing for, a public official to get threatened, but when you're talking about that public official's family members, when you're talking about their employees, sometimes my employees have been afraid to come to work. We have a buddy system around here now. We had, in the fall, we had, I think, 5 employees with 10 flat tires in about 6 weeks, over a 6-week time period. So, we take safety very seriously. And on with regards to this bomb threat and the threat of killing me in this particular case of this person in Indiana, federal authorities are seeking to have them in prison for 21 months is the sentence they're going for. I believe the individual has already signed some kind of a proclamation or affidavit of guilt as well. To that could change. They could withdraw that, obviously, but the federal authorities are seeking 21 months in federal prison for the bomb threats. And that sort of thing. I'm trying to find the quote. Okay. One of the quotes we had from one of the threats was that if I, quote, stepped outside, they were going to blow me up. So with that, Carly, am I missing anything from this case?
I don't think so.
So with that, I'm happy to answer questions. And Carly, if you can help manage.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. I guess there's a hand
Yeah.
emoji thing that you can.
There's a virtual hand, but if you can't figure that out, you just unmute yourself and you should pop up at the top here on our screen.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever has questions, go ahead. Caitlin?
Good morning, Congresswoman. Hope you can hear me. Okay, great. Just curious, is this connected to the bomb threat made to your office back in
Separate.
February of 25?
This is separate. That was a false alarm, the one with the suspicious package to the office ended up being nothing. This is separate from that. And I have received multiple bomb threats over the years, multiple last year as well. This was the most, I guess, serious one. The only one that's being prosecuted right now is this particular one from this individual in Indiana. The threats were received via email and text, multiple avenues, multiple, I guess, communication methods.
Any other questions?
What do you think is the primary driver behind this uptick in threats that you've seen in the past year and a half when kind of reflecting on where we're at?
I think part of it is, I think it's multifold. I think there are a lot of things going on culturally in the country. I think it is an increase in rhetoric, and it's an increase in, I think, political rhetoric that encourages violence. We're seeing, for example, ICE agents that are being assaulted on the TV frequently. I think rhetoric is a part of that. I also think that it's because I am a conservative woman, and I do speak out about women's issues, particularly on the transgender stuff. Not, I would say, I'm going to go along with the majority of my threats are from people that are either in that community or that support that community. So I have seen I've always received death threats since coming to Congress, but I will tell you the last 2 years, year and a half especially, particularly have been particularly awful with the death threats. And so um, for me, I'm not going to be a threat's not going to make me be silent. And in some cases, it makes me have more courage to speak out for our daughters and for women, because I believe that women have fought for hundreds of years to have, and we just got the right to vote just over 100 years ago. So I do believe that women are equal to men, and I will continue to speak out about that. But I will tell you, my speaking out about women and wanting to protect women, exponentially has the threats have risen exponentially because of that.
Does anyone else have a question?
Because there are 1,000+ threats a year, has it been difficult to get consequences for these people to be prosecuted? How many would you say are prosecuted?
Oh, I mean, we're like what, one out of thousands over the years. I mean, I feel like we're on average for like one a year to be prosecuted out of thousands. And I have played some of the voice messages. I have uh, we've shared some of the videos, some of the more egregious stuff. This stuff happens, it happens all the time. Like our office can't even keep up with it. In some cases, I tell my employees and my family, it's not always the threat that you know, it's the threat that you don't know. And so we have had to, for example, increase security, and I'm really grateful to leadership for giving an allowance to members to be able to do that. It's not enough, but it's something is better than nothing. But I've had to change my entire life. I've had to change everything that I do in order to move around. And I'm not able to move around freely anymore. And um, it's troubling, but that's the world that we live in. I do believe in the First Amendment. I've been talking about that a lot lately. And we all have the right to have our own viewpoints, but we don't have the right to, bring harm to somebody. And I don't think any of this is going to change. And when you see Democrats and Republicans getting threatened, I don't think this changes until people really acknowledge and stand up and say, this is what's happening, this is the truth. And until people start going to jail or held accountable for their behavior, this is just going to continue. And I feel very passionately about it. It deeply concerns me. But people just have no idea. Like I have had to change everything about the way that I live. And I basically live in hiding. And I can't even walk in a parking lot in the open air. Because getting out of your vehicle is one of the riskiest times for a politician is that when you see people get shot, a lot of times they're, getting out of their vehicle at that time. So I've had to look at how I go to the grocery store. I can't do that anymore, so I have to have, I can't run errands. Life is just different, and it's difficult, but I also signed up for it and I acknowledge that as well. But it doesn't mean that these kinds of threats are okay. No one should live in fear because of their political or religious beliefs.
Can you elaborate?
Congressman.
Go ahead.
Oops, sorry about that. I was just wondering if you could share anything else about the messages that you received from this individual that did threaten you. I don't want to ask you to relive something traumatic, but if you can say anything else about you, did they say a reason for why they were threatening you, or did they say anything else?
I don't, we can go look at, I don't have that in front of me, and the press release might cover that. And if not, we can go back and look. I know that it was a series of text messages and email communication that came through the office last year in 2025. And, I'm just grateful to the FBI for following those leads. A lot of times, we report this stuff all the time, and then just like nothing happens. And so it can be incredibly frustrating. So in this case, I am very, very grateful for the feds for stepping up and pursuing this to the fullest extent of the law. I'm just so grateful for it.
Yeah, the one we had mentioned was the if you stepped outside,
Mhm.
but we can go back and see if there's anything else we can share.
Yeah, but it was
as well.
multiple, it was a series of messages.
What was the lag time, or if you could just outline even a broad timeline of when the threats came into the office to when an investigation was launched? And then my second question, I'm sorry for any noise. The second question was, you said that this individual has actually been arrested. What is the name of this person, just so that we
I
can go
don't, I don't
back?
have it, and I don't have it, but we can get it to you after this. I didn't put it in the press release either. When I drafted the press release, I wanted to, at the time, it's been over a month now. We've known for a couple months that this was happening. Wanted to be particularly sensitive to, an investigation and their negotiation or, working with the individual to come to a guilty plea, et cetera. So I was trying to be sensitive to that as well, but it might be something we can give to you on background. So you can go look it up yourself. Um, but I believe it was Indianapolis, Indiana. So this happened but I believe the early part of last year, early to mid part of last year, we found out about the investigation and the arrest and the prosecution towards the end of 2025. And so we wanted it to get a little further along before we said anything about it. As you all know, I've been very outspoken about political violence, and it's just increasingly gotten worse. So you think about it, Caitlin, it's pretty fast on the draw, if you ask me, all things considered.
All right, anything else? Maybe one more question, if anyone has one.
I do. This is ABC4 in Charleston. It's completely unrelated to this. So if everybody else wants to hop off, or if there are any other questions about this before we move on. Okay. We are talking today about the animal abuse registry that you propose if you become governor. So we know that there are already systems in place in Tennessee and Florida, and those are the only two states. How would you, if elected governor, how would this system be created? Who would be tasked with that?
Well, I think it can be pretty easily done. The state already has the information. So whether it's like on SLED's website or, the court's website, having some kind of a registry with existing data, honestly, it's really just a spreadsheet that is searchable online.
Okay. And then would this be for misdemeanors and felonies, or felonies only?
I would want it to include everything, misdemeanors and felonies. But I'm looking to what other states have done. Florida just implemented theirs. I know Tennessee's is pretty new too. And as you all know, there have been a lot of efforts over the years in the state legislature to address animal cruelty. It continues to be a problem in South Carolina, and this is just a small part that can make a big difference.
So there's no framework yet. It's just kind of you're speaking out right now.
No, I believe I drafted the framework and I released it yesterday. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
I'm in my federal office, but it was in the news release, a draft of that proposal. I wrote it, so
Okay.
it's in there. And I'm a huge animal rights person. I've done a plethora of animal rights work, and in fact, just in the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, I just got a ban on animal testing at the Department of War authorized in the final NDAA. That's never been done before. That is historic. And so I've done a lot of work with animal rights groups. This is an issue where I've worked with both sides of the aisle on. I'm probably the most pro animal rights member in the Republican Party. Me and Brian Fitzpatrick are the two most animal rights folks within the United States Congress. And so I want to bring many of those ideas down to the state level.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you everyone for hopping on today. If you have any questions, you can just reach out to me. Like I said, I'm about to send out the press release, giving some of the details that we talked about today. And then Caitlin, I will work on getting that stuff for you. And I believe it was Adrian who asked about the messages. So I will work on.
We'll take that stuff to at ABC4 if you have a name
Okay.
and more details. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to be sensitive to it, so we might give it to you on background, but at least you can go.
Sure.
Go find it or whatever. I just want to be sensitive to that because they're still working through sentencing.
Okay, perfect. Thank
All
you
right,
guys.
thank you guys.